Hello guys, it is me again, it's HorrorFan34, and welcome back to another video, and this is going to be, once again, another top 10, and since I did the top 10 underrated films of 85, which was a really fun list to do, I figured, you know what, let me do another one of these. So why not do the year after that? So this will be my personal choice for my top 10 most underrated films that came out in the year 1986. These are just my 10 choices. Like I said before when I did the top 10 underrated of 85, these were films that some of them people probably know about, but they were probably flops, or these are just ones that just people don't talk about, or just don't even know anything about in general, or something like that. But these are just my top 10 personal choices for the films that I think are very underrated that came out in 1986. So enough with me talking on and on. Let's get on to the top 10. Now, like I said, some of them I have on DVD, and some of them I do have on DVD, but I didn't feel like pulling out all my DVDs, and it'd be a mess to get it out. So I'll just show like the picture on my phone and all that stuff. So let's get on to the top 10 of the most underrated films from 1986. Coming in at number 10, a very underrated Eddie Murphy film. It deserves to be talked about a lot more. Number 10 is The Golden Child. The Golden Child is a film that I just think is probably Eddie Murphy's most underrated comedic performance. I mean, he's just as funny as he was when he did Beverly Hills Cop in this. I think the year after this, he'd have Beverly Hills Cop 2. But Eddie Murphy is on his game in this. You know, so many great quotable lines from the film. It's a very fantasy-like film. It's like a fantasy kind of feel, mixed in with some comedy. You know, Eddie Murphy just steals the show in the film. You know, I want the knife. I want the knife, please. Yeah. Eddie Murphy is just on his game in this. The Golden Child deserves to be talked about a lot more, so that's why it's my number 10. Okay. Coming in at number 9, I do have this on DVD, but it's in like the very back of the DVD shelf, and it's a pain to get out. So I'll just show you the poster, the picture of the movie on my phone. So coming in at number 9 would be Eye of the Tiger. Eye of the Tiger is a film that just is such a fun 80s action film where basically Gary Busey plays a Vietnam vet who comes home and he finds out that the town that he lives in is now being overrun by these bikers. And one thing leads to another. The bikers kidnap his little girl, and they're keeping his daughter captive and hostage at their hideout, so he basically has to go there and kick some butt pretty much. And Yaphet Kotto, who was in Alien, The Running Man, I think he was in Predator as well. I think he was in Predator. I could be wrong, but I know he was in The Running Man. No, I think of The Running Man. Sorry. I keep thinking Predator because I'm like, no, that's Carl Weathers. I'm like, what am I thinking? But yeah, Yaphet Kotto from The Running Man and Alien is Gary Busey's best friend, and Yaphet Kotto kicks a lot of butt and all that stuff. I mean, Eye of the Tiger screams 80s. It's a fun action movie, and that's why it's my number 9. Gary Busey is, it's probably one of my favorite Gary Busey movies. Coming in at number 8 is Maximum Overdrive. Maximum Overdrive, a very underrated Stephen King film that I know Stephen King himself is not too much of a fan of. I'm sorry, Stephen King. I think this is probably one of your best. I think this is a very underrated, fun movie. And I know Emilio Estevez is not too much of a fan of it either. I mean, he has every right to his opinion, but I have to respectfully disagree with you, Emilio. I think this is one of your most underrated movies. I'm a huge fan of Emilio Estevez. Judgment Night, Young Guns, The Mighty Ducks, Repo Man, this film, Breakfast Club, and things like that. Even Free Jack, I even enjoyed that movie. But Maximum Overdrive, I mean, what else more can you ask for? You have Emilio Estevez against a semi-truck. You have AC/DC soundtrack. I mean, it's a fun 80s film that deserves a lot more attention, and it did not deserve the hate that it got. I enjoy Maximum Overdrive. Okay, coming in at number 7 is Running Scared. Not to be confused with the Paul Walker film Running Scared. This Running Scared was in '86, and this is a buddy cop film with Gregory Hines and Billy Crystal. Very fun buddy cop film. Probably one of the more underrated buddy cop movies. Sent from director Peter Hyams, same guy that directed End of Days with Arnold, Time Cop and Sudden Death with Jean-Claude Van Damme, Stay Tuned with John Ritter, The Presidio. He did 2010, the year we made contact. The Relic. I mean, Peter Hyams has done a lot of really good movies. Narrow Margin is another good one with Gene Hackman. Very fun buddy cop film. I love the chemistry between Billy Crystal and Gregory Hines. It's a really fun 80s buddy cop movie. I always enjoyed it. I want to get it at some point. I know it's on Blu-ray too. I'll probably pick up the Blu-ray of it at some point. Coming in at number 6 is Raw Deal. Raw Deal is another one of those films of Arnold's filmography that's not really talked about that much. I think this is a really fun 80s film as well. I like the supporting cast. You have Darren McGavin, you know, the old man, Ralphie's dad from A Christmas Story, and all that stuff. It's a really fun film. My favorite part of the whole movie is the very ending with all the action that's going on, like the whole finale. The finale is a lot of fun to watch. And I think Raw Deal, it's a really underrated film in Arnold's filmography. And I know that Raw Deal was also on a double feature DVD with Maximum Overdrive, which I want to get at some point because I enjoy both films and I don't have either of them on DVD. So I like to get the double feature at some point. But that's why Raw Deal was my number 6. Now coming in at number 5, this is the last one I'll be showing the picture of because I have the top 4 on Blu-ray or DVD. But coming in at number 5 is Murphy's Law. Murphy's Law is another Charles Bronson film. I just got done talking about Charles Bronson when I was talking about Death Wish 3, how that was the most underrated film of '85 for me. Well, this is another one of my favorites that Charles Bronson did. Murphy's Law is basically about Charles Bronson's character is a police detective who put away this person behind bars, and then it's a woman, by the way, he put behind bars. One thing leads to another. She is released, and she frames Charles Bronson for all these crimes that he did, and he gets arrested, and he gets handcuffed to a thief. And then one thing leads to another. Charles Bronson gets out of jail, handcuffed to the thief, and then the two of them go on this quest to try to find the woman who framed Charles Bronson and all that stuff. Very fun action. Charles Bronson is just so good in the movie. It's what you expect the Charles Bronson to do, just like in Death Wish, but not to like the full extent of like Death Wish 3. But it's a very fun Charles Bronson film. Okay. Alright. Coming in at number 4 is, of course, Cobra. Crime is a Disease, Meet the Cure. Cobra is a film that is a fun 80s action, kind of like horror film. It's one of the closest things that Stallone got to being in a horror movie. That and ICU, that's another one that he did that was kind of a horror film. But this is just a very fun film, great action, you know, from the same director that George P. Cosmato, same guy that did Rambo 2 and Tombstone. I I don't think he's no longer alive anymore, which is too bad. But this is probably his most underrated film that he directed. Of course, you have Brian Thompson as the Night Slasher. I mean, Stallone in this film. I kind of wish when Stallone did Judge Dredd back in the 90s, I kind of wish he kind of did it like Cobra. Because when Stallone was in the Judge Dredd costume, he was talking like the Cobra voice. But then when he took the outfit off, he was kind of over the top. Kind of makes me wish he kind of went with the Cobra voice for the Judge Dredd movie. But in a way, you can kind of say like this is like the Judge Dredd that I wanted for Stallone is from Cobra. But Cobra, a lot of action. Stallone's great in the lead. You know, so I don't need to say more about Cobra. It's a really fun film. Coming in at number 3, of course, a film I talked about a lot. Big Trouble in Little China. My favorite Kurt Russell film of all time. Really do enjoy Big Trouble in Little China. Coming in at number 2 is, of course, I mentioned this in the top 10 of '85. I was talking about The Falcon and the Snowman. My number 2 is At Close Range. Another great underrated Sean Penn film that he did with Chris Penn, his brother, Christopher Walken, and all that stuff. A very underrated film. Very, very underrated, based on a true story. I really enjoyed the film. And, of course, my number 1 most underrated film of 1986 is, without a doubt, Manhunter. The first Hannibal Lecter film. Before Silence of the Lambs, there was Manhunter. Manhunter is my favorite film dealing with the Hannibal Lecter series. I love the cast: William Peterson, Tom Noonan, Joan Allen, Stephen Lang, Kim Grice, Brian Cox, Dennis Farina. Directed by Michael Mann. Just love this movie a lot. I want to review it at some point, and I want to review this Blu-ray too, because this Blu-ray is packed with a lot of features. But I always loved Manhunter. And so there you have it. Those are my top 10 most underrated films from 1986. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Alright guys, take care.